It was about 4 months ago that I destined myself to go down the worst path imaginable. As a mangaka, your life is already miserable, and I decided, you know what, might as well double it. That's right, I decided I was going to redo a manga chapter. What kind of psychopath redoes a manga chapter? Well, I do, baby. And that's where this whole rabbit hole began. Some people asked me, Burisuko, can you please show us how you changed the original first chapter for the new first chapter? What did you edit? And so folks, let it begin. Today, I became my own manga editor and I show you exactly what I changed between the two versions of my manga chapter. My biggest priority was fixing a lot of the art. In the first chapter, the characters and the backgrounds were just very rough, as well as the layouts. It was my first ever published manga, so at the time, it was the best that I could do, but as time went on and it started growing, I really wanted to improve that aspect. So I studied my drawing, my anatomy, my character designs a lot and tried to make them much better. But as you can see just by the page count, the chapter became much more condensed. Now, I intentionally did this because I wanted to take the chapter and cut out a lot of the unnecessary extra comedy stuff that was going on and make this first chapter a proper introduction to what this manga and this character is about. So that's really all I was focused on. I didn't want any of that other junk in there. And by shrinking it to 13 pages, it also makes it easier for me to produce every month. So that's why I kind of went for the method of less pages per month, but more chapters for the volume. This way I could kind of space things out and let the story breathe a little bit better. Use it to help transition each arc that happens. Now, one of the biggest improvements with this chapter, before I go in page by page, was the characters. So I very specifically decided which characters I wanted to be shown in the first chapter. I know for a fact that this first volume is really just focusing mostly on Maki and Reina as characters. All four of the characters were introduced in the 3 chapters and they kind of just felt like they were dropped in. With that out of the way, I think we should jump right into going page by page and discussing exactly what changed here. So in the old chapter 1, here you are. This is the very first page you see when you open the manga. If you don't know where this is actually the skyline of Toyota City in Aichi, Japan. And it's just some skyscrapers, and we have this text here that's quite depressing, which is, some days I wonder if the world would notice if I just stopped. Now, some people maybe thought that that meant she was going to off herself. I got a few comments about that. That is not what it means at all. I just didn't really like the way that that was introduced. I didn't think that it was very clear what this meant, because what it actually meant was, some days I wonder if the world would notice if I just stopped going through this loop that I'm going through. But since I kind of cut that end piece off, right, it made it a little hard to understand. So page 2 showcases the routine. I didn't really have too much of a problem of what I was doing here. It's just that I really didn't like the art and the character designs of this style. And the layout of these pages are a little strange, in my opinion. So, especially things like this right here. You probably shouldn't be making text in a manga panel like that. And then of course we have this single page spread here, which also is kind of strangely laid out. It's not how I would do it these days. So here's how I readapted here's how I readapted the first sequence of that chapter. So 1, I really condensed it. I basically took it and made it only 2 pages long. And this first one you're looking at is a very important thing that I missed with the first one, and that is a title page. This is really, really important and makes a great first impression if you're submitting this to an editor or a publisher. Basically tells the editor, or it tells your readers, what this story is about. Now we truly get to the first page of this manga. I had a very, very clear intent with this. What I want you to do is listen to some music when looking at this page, because I want you to listen to the same song that I was exactly listening to in this moment. But basically, if you've ever watched Violet Evergarden, go ahead and listen to the song Violet's Letter by Evan Call. think you'll understand exactly the feeling I was going for with this. I'm not going to talk too much about exactly what that is because I want you guys to read the story and figure that out as it goes on. So if you're wondering what this building is in the background and where exactly we are, well, it says we are in Toyota, Japan, and this building in the background is one of the most significant structures in that city. It is the Toyota Stadium. There's lots of festivals held around here, and a soccer team called the Nagoya Grampus plays out of this stadium. It's a really, really cool spot, and I just wanted it to be the opening scene for this manga. I tried to visualize this page as, okay, well, how would an anime start? And I thought of something like Kyoto Animation, and that's where I came up with this flower with a little bit of water droplets on it, kind of swaying in the wind with the nice clouds in the background. And that carries very nicely into the next page, which is this one right here. You can see the stadium is actually still here. And that's because this is where she is with her family right now. So you see, you have, hurry up, Maki, your father is waiting in the car. It's just a fun little message. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. And she's kind of muttering to herself like, yeah, 1 second, I'll be over there. And again, I spent a really long time on these illustrations, so I hope you guys enjoyed looking at them. They took forever. I'm sure you can kind of get the theme now. All of the locations in this story are real places that I've scouted out on Google Maps. I have spent way too much time looking at places that I cannot physically go to try and make this as accurate as possible. I really want the reader to feel like they are living in this city and they are experiencing all of these places. So this is an observation deck in that city that has this cool little star, and I thought it was very fitting because Maki's name is Maki Hoshimoto, and that essentially loosely means true hope from the stars. And there you go. It perfectly segues into her at school, which is continuing her thoughts. There's nothing beautiful about me. And she's walking with all the other students. This is the actual high school that she goes to in the background. This is an image from their school. And same goes for this area as well. I know it's just a manga, so you can't really tell all that much, but this area actually exists in their school as well. So what changed between here and the other version? See, I kind of took a different route in this old one and went through just the cycle of her day, which I didn't really think had the impact that I was going for. So when I went and redid it, what I chose to do here was add lots of other characters. What did I just do? What the heck? So in the edit, what I chose to do this time was add lots of other characters to the mix. You can see there's all of these other random background characters in here, and I did that for a very specific reason because I wanted it to be super clear that she was alone. Always having her head buried in her phone, scrolling, reading manga on her phone, right? And I think that this new chapter makes that very, very obvious. And thinking about the text as well, like why I've chosen this text compared to the other ones, well, I've chosen text that matches her personality and her voice. How would she speak? Well, someone like this would probably speak very bluntly, very cold, but this is where your character really comes into play, and this is where good story writers will excel. It's how do you transition that into something that actually begins into a story? How do you invest people into these characters? Because a lot of the times people don't want to read something super depressing all the time, right? People want funny moments. They want entertainment. So back to chapter 1, this was the original first page. So I'm going to go back to the new chapter 1 and show you exactly how I adapted this, but the format, believe it or not, actually stays the same here. It follows a very fundamental rule, which is showcasing the setting first, then the main character and what's going on, then it transitions that a little bit to show a little bit more personality of the character, and then we have the introduction of the new character, and then the next sequence starts, right? Now, there is just a lot wrong with this page. The layout is not really all that good. These panels are way too misorganized, and there is just so much text here that doesn't need to be here. So if we move to the new version, you can see how that was adapted. Just notice in the bubbles as well, like I've left a lot more space so it's easier to read. But the good news is, the formula stays the same. Like I showed you guys, we have the school, we have the introduction to the character, we have the progression of that sequence, a funny little comedy moment. Sorry, I just skipped a 4 there. A funny little comedy moment. and then the new character comes in. And it's laid out a lot nicer to be much easier on the eyes to understand what's going on. And even little things like just putting the character's head above the frame border just to make it look a little prettier. And the funny thing about all of this is that it flows directly from the last sequence. So make sure you're thinking very hard about your dialogue. You can see this is where an insane amount of attention to detail was put into this chapter. To be honest, I thought about this so much that it may have even gone overlooked. Right here, I want you to pay attention to this because this was specifically thought out to be this way. She's thinking right here, and she's got her head on her hand. And the very next time we see her in the school, because I wanted to showcase that this was in the school, made it clear, she's almost in the exact same pose. And instead of thinking, she's gone out loud now. At this point, she's sitting at the desk with her head on her hand, and you can kind of see she's gone through her day like this. I thought that was very clever, but you guys will have to let me know in the comments down below. Basically, how I cut the text down, this is really important. I know it's kind of boring, but this is really important. When you cut the text down, you just have to think about what would this character say and what truly matters and what's being said. Something got overlooked. We've found our first error in the chapter. But the format of what she's saying just remains exactly the same. It's not all bad. At least the weather is nice. Cherry blossoms sway in the wind. All of the students are gathering outside to eat lunch, which is the exact reason I'm eating by myself. That'd be a great start to an anime, right? That is exactly the same as it was in the first chapter. It's just that I've done, or at least tried to do, a better job of showcasing what is actually happening in that sequence. Now, the introduction of Reina is a little bit more organic. You can see she's kind of entering the doorway in this last panel here. And as she goes into the new one, she realizes somebody's in there, right? So she steps back out and then kind of creeps back in again. All right, so I think you can get the gist of what's going on with this video, but honestly, I'm gonna skip ahead right now to the final few pages because this thing would be like an hour long otherwise. The original recording I made of this was almost 2.5 to 3 hours. So I'll probably post a video on my Patreon that's much more in depth of this chapter if you truly wanted to know everything, but let's just go ahead and skip to the final pages and we'll wrap this video up. Now, this page for me was really, really important. This showcases that these two have history together as friends. This was something that was completely skipped over in the original first chapter, and I think was a really big detriment to getting readers to be invested in this story. Like, why is Maki doing these things and why does it matter? And so that's why I added this entire page of all these panels where they're talking about how she basically used to do this when they were kids and they kind of forgot about it. And then in the next panel, the next page, she's like, yeah, I remember doing that while they're walking home. Now, this right here, this panel is so important. I'm really going to highlight this for you beginners out there. This is so important. So your supporting characters need to think as well. They also have emotions. They also question decisions and think about things. And this is really important because in the old first chapter, I kind of skipped the reason as to why is Reina making Maki do this. But in this new chapter, it's become much more obvious why she's doing this. As her friend, she can just see that Maki has drifted away from herself, and now she's asking, how can I fix this? How do I get her to return to the way she was? I don't understand what's happening here. And so that's why she invites her, and she thinks to herself, well, she's asking me why, but I can't tell her why because it's rude. That's why Reina phrases it in the way that she does up here, where she's kind of laughing it off awkwardly, saying, well, how about instead of you being a shut-in, I could try teaching you guitar instead. Now, originally, you guys might think this is very funny. I actually had a text bubble here that had stuff written in it. Right at the very end, I decided to take it out. And why did I do that? Well, because this page before was quite heavy in moving the story forward, and it really gave you a lot to think about. And so what I wanted to do in the next page was just let that breathe for a second. Just let the readers understand what happened and kind of let the dust settle, if you will. So in the old chapter, we're just going to go through this very quick because it's way too text heavy. You can see there's just way too much text on here. I mean, look at these bubbles and look at how much dialogue is being said. Like, you just don't need to include that much text in your story if it's written well. And this is basically the same scene that I showed you guys just now. So the old version really kind of goes through this very different approach, that it's more comedy focused and there's no real deep meaning behind what's happening. And then they kind of just end up at the house and everything starts with the music. So I felt like it was kind of soulless. It didn't really hit that emotional vibe I was going for. Now, a lot of you have let me know, so I'm very thankful for this, that this has done a much better job of that. It's much more intriguing. I'm just very appreciative of that because I thought about this really hard to make it hit properly. And now we end up at Reina's house for the first time, and this is where I decided to do something completely different. Now, in the original chapter, I just had them playing in Reina's bedroom, but this time I decided to make this much more interesting. So you can see in the text, I have Maki say, "Whoa, you have a studio in your house now?" She hasn't been there for a while, right? So maybe the room got renovated. And this is where you kind of get the introduction that this Reina family, the Hayashis, are very musical people. If you've got a really, really, really good eye in the next panels, you will see this is the guitar that Maki uses, and this is the one that Reina uses. And then we have this joke here. Again, there were some very serious scenes before this, right? So I just wanted to lift the spirits a little bit. And that's where I came up with this joke of, why do you have so many guitars? Was one not enough? And then you have this slam down that's like this super animated scene here where she jumps in and says they're all wildly different and very beautiful to me. So I have shown you guys Maki's guitar before, which is this knockoff Les Paul that I have. That's why Reina lets her borrow it, because it's not a super expensive guitar. But this one right here, Reina's guitar, is actually a custom built guitar, and I wanted to make it in this chapter so that I had reference material to build it in real life. And that's going to be one of the videos I have coming up. I am going to be building that guitar in real life, and if you're wondering, it is red with a tortoise pattern pickguard and a matching red headstock. It's this beautiful candy apple metallic red, and it is a custom guitar that her father built for her. So anyways, we're on to the last page, and I really just wanted this to showcase a very short practice session with Reina and Maki for the first time. So it basically just leads to her saying she has a solution, which you will find out what that is in chapter 2. I know I've been talking about it a lot in this video, but I have honestly paid so much attention to detail in this. You can see she's even holding the guitar wrong. She's not even holding it right. Someone who plays the guitar is probably going to have it resting like this on this leg right here. You can see she's resting it on her waist or hip. Like, what are you doing, Maki? Come on. This is just not how you hold a guitar at all. And even then, this is what's really going to elevate your manga, guys. Pay really close attention to the things that are happening in the scene. Like, if you draw her with guitars, make sure to include the guitars in the other panels, even if it's just a little bit. You can see I left the headstock in there. The neck and the head is exposed here in this one. Now, this is the part where you can see she's already at the music store in the other chapter by page 13 or something like that. And this was probably one of my least favorite sequences of this chapter. I actually decided to cut out all of this. I didn't keep anything from the store in the first chapter at all. So I'm sure if you have one brain cell, you can probably figure out where the second chapter is going to start. It's going to be very different from the way that the manga was set up before. I want to make that very clear. I think it's very obvious with the two versions of the chapter 1, now that you've seen the new one, that this story has a bit of a different vibe to it. It's much more structured, and although some of the comedy remains, the root themes have not changed, but have just been way more polished and easily understandable. And so because of that, the second chapter and the third chapter that I write will probably look extremely different from what existed before. This video would have been 4 hours long if I talked about all of the things that I changed in it, so I really just tried to focus on the story and the characters mostly in this. I didn't really go into too much depth on anything else. So that's it for this one. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Boom! Did I scare you? Burisuko now has a Patreon channel. I set this up because it was requested by quite a few of you guys that you wanted somewhere for me to make longer tutorials. Now I know this video was quite long. I apologize. I didn't really mean for it to go on for 30 minutes, but I just really love talking about manga. But over on the Patreon channel, I will be uploading lots of videos, both free and paid, and going into much more detail than my YouTube shorts or my Instagram reels, for example, which are very quick. So if you're looking to seriously learn about manga and figure out how I do these things, well, that Patreon is going to be for you. Just be patient for a couple weeks while I'm still uploading videos. There is one tutorial up there already, but obviously, guys, I'm sure you understand it's going to take me a while to get lots of videos on there. And don't forget to join the Burisuko Discord server. I just finally made a space for you guys to hang out with each other. This was requested for so long, so if you have things about music or manga you want to share or looking for friends to collaborate with, then this is the place for you. Now I'm truly done. I'll see you later.